Hello, welcome to the video I should have recorded a week ago, but then I didn't, and then went on vacation, and then procrastinated. So we're here, and pretending like Venture Season 3 started yesterday, okay? Alright, good. So, there are some new modifiers that made this video a little trickier to make. Like, in the first season, I think they just choked us out on energy, where we couldn't generate it, or we started with 0, but we could generate it. And that made ability-based loadouts kind of powerful, ironically, right? Because energy got created in different specific ways. And then the next season was basically just the normal game, but enemies were just weak at a longer distance. Or like they're very strong. You couldn't do much damage is kind of the opposite of what I said. So instead of just making special loadouts for that, I just didn't because they didn't change enough. I mean, what do you want me to talk about? But in Season 3, oi, they have done a lot here. So starting from the top, super soldiers do double headshot damage, and ranged weapon eliminations reduce cooldowns by 4 seconds. So that is a big deal. That means, like, in the typical minigun loadout, which I didn't prepare any gameplay for, but it basically is just the regular 5-second cooldown. You can see it on screen. Link to that video down below. You could use that exact video, that exact everything I showed in that video, but then just kill an enemy after your minigun's done, and it'll just be up like that. I mean, the 1 second, 1.5 second that I'm not accounting for here is plenty. Just finish with the minigun, shoot something, and you're basically going to have infinite minigun. So minigun is already just very powerful in this modifier here. So I'm not going to be including that in this video, and by no means are these all of the loadouts. We'll talk about them all below. Timestamps will be in the description if you guys want to skip ahead. But I want to go over these modifiers because it's important. And the Super Constructor is also why I'm not really showing any Constructor builds. I'm not really all about impact and damage, or like impact damage. It's not that important to me. I've never really found a hardware loadout that was like a must-use kind of thing. The important thing here is that Super Constructors reduce building costs by a lot. So that doesn't really change anything about Constructor loadouts. Just use base Kyle or power base Nox and have a grand old time. I mean, what else do you want me to tell you? But Super Ninjas and Super Outlanders are where things get very interesting. So I think 2 or 3 of my loadouts are going to be Ninja loadouts because they are just that powerful. And ability eliminations increase your damage and attack speed, which means you'll swing faster and do more damage with melees. And every one of those melee eliminations will reduce the cooldown by 2 seconds, which is kind of a big deal. Now, Shadow Stance's benefits are being doubled is kind of just hard to account for. Just know that Shadow Stance happens after melee elimination. You're going to do more damage. So, I mean, what do you want me to tell you? And then reduced ranged weapon damage and trap damage, which trap damage is kind of an oof, but whenever I was running Ninja, I never noticed that. It seemed to be fine. Or at least I was running Outlander, and the trap damage was fine. You'll be okay. And ranged weapon is kind of a moot point, because you shouldn't be using ranged weapons as a Ninja anyway. And then Super Outlander, well, unless you're using Lynx, but anyway, Super Outlander is just broken. I'll show you the loadout for that right now. In fact, so the basis of this video was I asked people on my channel to send me Discord messages. Just ping me in our Discord with loadouts, and a lot of you did. I don't have all the names off the top of my head. I have a few of them written down, but in all of the loadouts that I show today, I'll show screenshots like this one, where he literally just took a screenshot of Clip and I think Long Arm of the Law and said, there you go. That's, I mean, obviously a joke, but basically, she, if you don't already know, has a 100% chance to drop additional ingredients if you punch with your fist. It is literally just that strong. So with 0 energy cost for Outlanders, that is all you need. And that's why I'm just sort of showing this as like my first overall loadout. This is what I've been using. Just Saurian Fight from Jurassic Ken, which works on a lot of abilities by now. I've said this before, and I'm going to say it now just for the record. When he first released, I made this video here where I talked about how he's a Jurassic F, and half of the abilities just did not function with him. That was patched, and then I just I never made a video telling people. I didn't think it was that important. I should have. I have no excuse. Cam from our Discord did a lot of work testing all the abilities, and he only doesn't work on Go and Constructor, and that's old information. It might even work now. So as far as I'm aware, he works with every ability that you would expect him to work with. So if you wanted to buff Shurikens or Dragon Slash or your Minigun or all of that, he will work. Or in this case, Teddy or Shock Tower, he'll be fine. So I feel like in a Blast from the Past loadout, he is a perfectly good addition. But like I said, because you don't need energy regeneration or anything, that's why Fossil Southie's not in here, Long Arm of the Law is fine. If you want to just punch an extra distance and use clip in your commander slot, hey, that is going to work completely fine. And the rest of this loadout I just kind of threw together. Static Cling felt pretty good to buff the affliction damage. You can also use a hero, I always forget her, but she's down here. Yeah, Berserker. So just to click on her, she is Trailblazer Quinn. You can just make your Teddy do 30% extra damage. Perfectly viable option. Gumshoe is one of 2 Art Deco heroes that I know of that we are going to be mentioning today, and I feel a little bad about that, but not really. She's been researchable for a long time, and Art Deco llamas were just in the shop as of recording this. So in the future, that'll be less true of a statement, but you had a chance for Gumshoe, and you can research her right now. And fragment abilities by 30%, just that damage buff is huge. That is Teddies and Shock Tower. So if you're running a loadout like this, where you have Teddies and Shock Tower, Gumshoe is kind of a no-brainer. Like you saw how Berserker buffed just the Teddy, she buffs both, and that is awesome. And I just want to scroll down here one more time, or I just to mention this one more time, that you can go in here. Noir is the other one we'll be mentioning. You can just research him right here, just for the cost of a normal legendary hero. Gumshoe is very good ability damage. Sleuth is, I don't even recall what he does, but while we're looking at him, yeah, fire rate. Not the most exciting thing, but Noir, I'm not trying to do that. Noir does extend how long lefty and righty lasts, which might be a benefit. We'll talk about him later when we get to the Raven loadout, and then the other guy was just Crescent Kick, which is never good. So to continue on with Clip, the other thing I wanted to mention, this is kind of like my unofficial second loadout recommendation, is just literally Bloodfinder AC on his own. So if I can find him, he will increase your anti-material charge damage. Now, that's not going to work in the end game. If it's your starting loadout and you're using clip all the time anyway, with unlimited punches from your fist, your anti-material charge, he is a pretty good addition, I think. I don't think it's worth it. As you can see, I opted to just buff my Teddy and Shock Tower. I think that's more useful to you, but Bloodfinder AC exists. I know a lot of people have been bringing him up, and I can't say that he's a bad choice. I'm just not saying he's your best choice, because as much as 225% sounds, the anti-material charge is really, really weak, and I can't seriously suggest anybody use it. So I will say, just on a personal note, it is very, very fun to be showing you guys a farming loadout that doesn't contain Southie or Pathfinder, no, Archaeologist, because, well, I mean, there's no cooldown. There's no energy required. It's kind of awesome. And I will say this as well. So the Constructor cooldown for the walls is really nice, or at least the cost reduction, I should say, because it'll be a lot cheaper to build your bases and upgrade them. But with Clip, I think I had max metal, wood, and brick in, like, the first few missions that I ran, just punching everything. So she's a little broken. All Outlanders are. If you somehow skipped Clip or you somehow didn't get her, it's fine. Just unlimited punch is amazing, and there are a lot of different directions you can go with Outlanders. All right, I already teased the Raven loadout, so I kind of just want to get into it. This loadout is stupid. This is incredibly strong. So first and foremost, there could be a little bit of a level difference here. I recorded in a 23 zone when it said my Venture's power level was 26, so I might be doing a little too much extra damage, but Raven is incredible. So the main reason we don't use him in normal games is because the lefty and righty cooldown is staggering. Even with Happy Holidays, we are going to be waiting a full 60 seconds, which might not sound like much, but when your entire loadout is built around lefty and righty, not having lefty and righty active is a major, major deficit. But as I said, with Happy Holidays, we can reduce that down to 1 minute instead of 100 seconds. And with Noir, as I already mentioned, your lefty and righty eliminations will extend your duration up to 10 seconds, which I said you might not want, because this loadout is so stupid that I was killing all of the enemies and all of the encampments that I recorded for this video, like, way too early. So that 10 seconds, I was just destroying houses because I didn't know what to do with my free time. So you might not want him, but when you're defending your base and the mission has begun and there are going to be a lot more zombies, that might be more useful, especially if you want to kill other zombies to, like, keep more damage on the mini boss, for example. This is a very, very fun loadout, especially with the explosions. Lefty and righty exploding from Raven is a lot of extra damage, a lot of area of effect. You can be very lazy when you shoot this. And I also wanted to mention Zip and Zap. These are all optional. So obviously I should have showed him by now, but it was recommended to me. He did a whole write-up for this. You can see it on screen. It's pretty nice. And one of the optional healing things, I chose coconuts. I don't eat it that much throughout the gameplay, but if you're ever really weak, coconuts is nice, but anything that heals you is pretty important. He recommended Survivalist. That's a good idea. You just pick whatever you want. I mean, it doesn't really matter. You could use campfires for all it matters and maybe use a different ability. I thought Battle Beat would be a little bit of a weird pick, But no, it definitely gets activated from the ability here, and 10 eliminations is no problem for it. Not to mention, that might still be active a little ways after your lefty and righty is gone. So, as I mentioned, with that 60-second cooldown, with the new ventures, every single elimination from your ranged weapon is going to take 4 seconds off that cooldown, which matters. That is a big deal. That really, really... I had no problem getting my lefty and righty back, and it was a very viable loadout. And then another optional pick here is just Special Forces Ramirez, which is the founder's one. You can't get her anymore. Special Forces Banshee is the one that is in the base game. She is identical, so if you guys missed out on being a founder, it's okay. There we are. Special Forces Banshee is the base game. You can grab her any day. That is just nice. You don't need Warcry. I already showed how overpowered lefty and righty is, but with the way this loadout is set up, lefty and righty is going to be ready at about the same time as Warcry, so you might as well just pop Warcry as well. It'll buff your teammates at the same time, which is kind of a nice bonus. But if you don't want her or anything I mentioned, there are tons of options. Just scroll through and find whatever. Just one off the top of my head is like absolutely stunning. You don't need this, but if you're going up against a Smasher, which I didn't get for any of my gameplay, it'll just stun him in place. This, I believe, it does. I know this does works on mini bosses as well, or at least it did when I tested it recently. So, hey, being able to stun an enemy at the same time might be a little more helpful than an 8%, buff from Warcry. There are tons of options. Just scroll through your heroes and just decide whatever you think will be helpful. I am sure you can make a good pick. All right, these last two are going to be ninja suggestions. So the first one is the one that I came up with. Now, the basic idea here, if you guys didn't follow earlier, or if you just want a quick rundown, is abilities speed up your swing speed and your melee damage, and every melee elimination takes 2 seconds off your cooldown. That is all you need to know. Meaning, if you throw your throwing stars, you'll swing faster for, I don't remember how much time, that much time. You'll do more damage, and then you'll just be able to get right back into the fight. So I decided, okay, what about Smoke Bomb? Smoke Bomb is something that has always had a soft spot in my heart, but it got nerfed very early on with the hero rework in 2019, so it hasn't really seen much light. But with Infiltrator Ken, as you can see in probably all of the gameplay, you could just throw down a Smoke Bomb, delete the encampment, and with Medicinal Fumes keeping me alive, and Assassin Sarah, and Saurian Claws from Paleo Luna, I am just doing all the damage. And to say that this loadout is good is kind of an understatement, because, okay, I might have been in a lower zone. I'm not 100% certain how this will hold up in the end game, but I had no melee weapons when I started to record this video. I just went to some random vending machine, grabbed this random axe. It happened to have like green attack speed perk on it, and then like crit damage or something. So it wasn't spec'd in any special way. It was doing completely fine, which was awesome to see, because that extra damage and swing speed on top of everything dying inside of a smoke bomb anyway made it a very viable loadout, and I'm really, really happy to share this one with you. I like this one a lot. So I went with Saurian Focus, Fossil Southie, because I feel like you're going to need a little bit of that energy regeneration. Smoke Bomb, Throwing Stars, and Dragon Slash are just all very good. You're going to want to be using these abilities as fast as possible. And initially, I did not use a Smoke Bomb cooldown. I was actually using the energy cost reduction. I had never leveled this guy up before, and I regretted it immediately, because that energy cost didn't seem to matter, but I didn't record any gameplay with the new version, but I do believe that Utility Belt from Dimmock Mari is going to be definitely more useful, because I found myself waiting for my Smoke Bomb to come back plenty often, and I feel like that would just be a little bit more helpful. Obviously, you guys can throw in whatever. Maybe you don't have Blast from the Past. Maybe you want to use Happy Holidays, which should be coming back soon as of recording this. They haven't announced any more of the toy heroes, but oh yeah, Tank is available in the as of recording in this week of Frostnite events. Tank is available, which gives you Happy Holidays. So if you're trying to try out Happy Holidays, that'll reduce your cooldown on top of the Utility Belt, and it might also give you cause to have a shield, which Blast from the Past removes. So if you do need that shield, then you can use Sea Fog, which is Smoke Bomb restores your shield to full. It's not huge. It's kind of a passive buff. Obviously, this does no extra damage, but maybe you want to use him in the lead. I don't know. There are some options here. Doesn't need to be Infiltrator Ken. I just think that extra radius is really nice to have. And then Medicinal Fumes is how I chose to heal. Obviously, you could just use whatever you want. Maybe you think Survivalist is better. Maybe just like earlier, you think Coconuts is better. I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's your loadout. But I think Medicinal Fumes is really passive. It's just nice because you're already throwing Smoke Bomb. It's already going to heal you, and this will also affect teammates. And Medicinal Fumes happens to be one of like the better abilities in the game. That'll definitely keep you around. So yeah, and then Assassin Sarah is pretty standard. I mean, she just buffs your melee damage, all of the melees, by the way. So it doesn't need to be a sword, doesn't need to be a hammer, nothing. Paleoluna and her will be a great combo. And of course, Paleoluna activates the Blast from the Past, which is kind of a double combo there. And then lastly was another viewer suggestion. So I really appreciate this. Like, I openly in my videos struggled to find loadouts for this new venture season, but a lot of you guys gave some good suggestions, and I was able to come up with a couple of my own even for this video. But this one was not my idea. This was suggested by user on screen. I went through a lot of suggestions. I don't have all the names, but he is here and being plugged on screen. So Swift Shuriken Loadout was what he decided to go with, and this just reduces the cooldown of throwing stars. And initially I didn't quite understand how good this loadout was, because with him in the lead, it looks like you have about a 3-second cooldown on those shurikens. And as you might have heard already, as in my own video here, every melee elimination reduces your cooldown by 2 seconds, which essentially means you can just throw your throwing stars, smack something, throw your throwing stars, smack something, and repeat. It is a very, very powerful loadout. This is good. I would recommend binding your throwing stars to like shift or whatever key is convenient for you. I use a V for some reason. That doesn't work for me. And I'm only noting this because you will be using your throwing stars so often that is going to become important to make it easy to reach. Now, Assassin Sarah, Coconuts, and Saurian Claws I've already talked about. Saurian Claws is kind of an interesting pick because without Blast from the Past, Paleoluna is less effective. So depending on the perks of the weapon that you're using, you might want an extra throwing star. You might want, I mean, just anything, whatever you think is useful. Buff your smoke bomb, dragon slash. You could just use corrosive strikes if you're in the late game and maybe you've got something with crit rating on it. That could be more useful in support than Paleoluna. Again, Paleoluna with Blast from the Past would probably be a good pick, but because we're not using that here, yeah. So if you are using Blast from the Past, Fossil Southie would be good, but since we're not, Fallen Love Ranger Jonesy gives us plenty of energy, and I found this to be a very well-balanced loadout. He suggested Fan of Stars, and that was because it, throws him in an arc, and he said it was more useful against mist monsters, which I can agree with, but I don't know. This one's preference. I'd rather throw like 3 at a time. However, I don't know. He was good too. He was definitely good too. With a 3-second cooldown, it really didn't make that big of a difference, and I feel like this was a really well-balanced loadout, and if you're into shurikens, this could be a pretty good option. Alright, and that brings us to the end of the video. There are plenty of loadouts that you guys can try. If there are any that I didn't mention here that you guys want to give some attention to, there was a Swamp Knight build suggested to me that I didn't talk about, and lots of people gave me lots of farming loadouts, but I just think that clip made them all a little obsolete. So if you guys want to comment below all of your favorite loadouts, go right ahead. If you guys want to support my channel, feel free to use code Mista at your checkout. You can become a channel member here, use those comments down in the comments below. My streams are awesome on Twitch. Feel free to follow down there, talk to me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a nice day. And then